Hello, welcome to today's all levels yoga class. You don't need anything special today, you just need you and your mat and a little bit of focus, ready to take care of you for the next little while, the next hour or so. Have a seat if you like. Place something under your hips, a yoga block or a rolled up blanket. Get settled, sit tall. And when you're ready, close your eyes. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, bring your gaze downward. Rest your hands on your thighs, palms up, palms down. It really doesn't matter which. The focus here is to be comfortable. Deepen your breath. Start with 2 long, satisfying breaths. And then let go of control of your breath. Just let your body's own wisdom take over. Shift your awareness now from the breath, since it's taking care of itself, to your physical body and any sensations that you happen to be feeling. Just checking in with your body, setting an intention today to be mindful of those parts of your body that are sending you messages throughout the practice. Now use your exhalations to soften and release tension. First, bringing your awareness to your ankles, your legs. With your exhalation, just letting the legs feel heavy. The next breath out, hips soften and sink in. A third exhalation dedicated to letting go of tension through the shoulders and the back of the neck, maybe even into the jaw. Just take a moment here to create some space between your busy life and this practice now. Using the practice of ritual to bring you into the moment. The ritual of a yoga practice to sit, to breathe, to be still before proceeding with the actual sequence. Because stillness and mindful breath is the very beginning of a physical yoga practice. With your next breath in, sweep your arms up. Let your hands come together overhead and slowly float down, palm pressing to palm. Let's do 3 more breaths. Sweeping your arms in coordination with your breath. Sweeping up for the inhale, hands floating down for the exhale. Only pausing for that brief moment when there is no inhale and there is no exhale. That tiny little space in between where there's nothing. Pausing with hands in front of heart center. Just take 1 more breath here. Release the hands. Open your eyes if they happen to be closed. Take a breath in and sweep your arms up. With the breath out, bring your right hand to the floor beside your right hip and lean over with the left. Think of reaching to the corner where the wall meets the ceiling. A big breath in, stretch your arms wide as you windmill over to the left side. Left hand coming to the floor beside your hip. Right hand reaching up to the corner where the wall meets the ceiling. Let's do that again. Reaching wide as you take a big breath in, maximizing the space in your body to maximize the movement and the breath. Now focus on keeping both hips heavy, really anchoring through the hips so you feel the full length of the stretch as your hand reaches to the corner and your hip anchors down. We're going to do it one more time to each side. Really feel a complete breath, a full exhalation all the way in. And as you exhale, completely reach as far as you can. Last time. Over to the left, left hand to the mat, right hand reaches. Bringing yourself all the way back to center. Hands beside you, high on your fingertips, thumbs turned in, fingers pointing out. Make sure you're comfortable here. Now roll your shoulders back, slide them down. That's it. Now just lift your eyes, look up towards the corner, and think about lifting through the heart just a little bit, right through the center of the sternum, pulling up. Now soften the elbows and lean back. Just to lift a little higher. Soften your jaw. Just notice if you began to clench it and release it. If you didn't clench your jaw, good for you. And then release. Let's come to standing at the top of the mat. However you need to get there, that's how you get there. Feet hip distance apart. Let's inhale, sweep the arms up. And as you exhale, bow forward, bending your knees. Bring your hands to your knees. Rest your weight on the heel of your hands here. Long through the spine, kind of reaching the crown of your head up to the corner where the wall meets the ceiling. Roll your shoulders back, slide your shoulder blades in towards the spine and down towards the hips. Now lift your eyes, look forward, look to the wall in front of you, create some curve through the upper back. Exhale, round through the back, deliberately scoop the tailbone under, tuck your chin towards your chest. Really spread your shoulder blades wide now. Inhale, lift the eyes, look forward. Feel the movement of the spine as you inhale, and then exhaling, rounding through the back, rounding through the tailbone. 2 more breaths. Opening up through the front of the body. And then exhaling as the chin tucks towards the chest, opening up through the back of the body, the back of the heart. And the lower back. Good release into the lower back here. Now bring yourself back to neutral, looking down at the floor, just slightly in front of your mat. Feel like the crown of your head's reaching up to the corner once again. Soles of the feet strong, pushing into the mat. Really engage the legs here. Actively pushing down into the floor, into the earth. Release your hands now. Sweep your hands just forward, lifting the sternum, hands reaching straight ahead. Wrists in line with the shoulders, coming into a high chair pose. Let's call it a bar stool pose. Take a couple of breaths right here. Just feel the warmth building in the thighs on this cold below 0 day. Now inhale, come up the rest of the way, reaching up, pause here, hands reaching straight ahead, not straight ahead, straight up, wrists in line with the shoulders, just enough energy in the hands, the fingers are spread apart, the palms are open, thumbs pointing behind you. Lengthen through the arms, minimize the bend in your elbows. There's still a little bit of softness in the back of the knees, but you can feel the feet actively pressing into the floor. Now draw the belly button in towards the spine, create some stability and strength through the midsection. Open up the hands, widening the hands slightly as if you're pointing corner to corner overhead. Now bring the gaze up to the corner in front of you. Keep the belly strong, midsection strong. Now keep the arms in place and turn the palms forward. Just feel the arm bones rotating in your arm sockets. Belly is still strong. Soles of the feet still pressing into the floor. Now exhale, release. Bring yourself back to mountain pose. Standing tall, arms at your sides. Broad through the collarbones, palms turned forward. Open. Take a breath. And as you exhale, just let all your weight sink into the soles of your feet. Really feel connected to the earth, steady, grounded. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, bow forward. Bring your fingertips to the mat. Use the full length of your arms, the full length of your fingers here. Lift your eyes, look beyond the top edge of your mat. Feel your vertebrae kind of flattening out and aligning, especially between the shoulder blades. So now pull the shoulder blades in towards the spine. Feel the bend at the hip joint deepen. Press into the mat with the soles of the feet. Lift your hips up slightly just to increase the intensity. Remember, still manageable level for you. You decide. If you need to bring a block under your hands, go ahead. If you want to stretch the back of your legs out a little bit more. But the length of your arms is holding you back. Always checking in with your breath. So today we're focusing on creating a little bit of space from one pose to the next. Space between everything. Really giving every pose its moment. Now fold, round through the spine, round through the shoulders. Let your head feel heavy, relaxing your neck completely now. Let your arms feel heavy, even using the weight of your arms to help you stretch through the rib cage a little bit more. Getting a good stretch into those lateral muscles that sometimes brace against breathing. And in this deep forward fold here, focus on making the stretch a little bit bigger with your inhalation. Feeling the stretch more deeply into the sides of the rib cage with every breath in. And with every breath out, feel your belly and rib cage press a little more heavily into your thighs. Use your fingertips to press into the mat and just lift your eyes, look beyond the top edge of your mat once again. Bend your knees. Bend your knees enough now you can plant your hands fully, connecting to the mat completely with the palms of the hands and the fingertips, and step back to downward dog. Find your downward dog. Take a breath or two just to feel your downward dog. Check in. You want your hands firmly connected to the mat. Arms long, strong, broad shoulders rather than reaching with the shoulders. Let your arm bones push your shoulder blades towards your hips. And then reaching your heels down. Heels don't need to be connected to the mat. This all depends on your anatomy and your skeletal structure and how long your hamstrings are compared to the length of your legs. Knees can be soft here. Breathe. Just rest here in the space between the poses. One more breath. Lift your heels, bend your knees, walk your feet towards your hands. Inhale, come halfway up. Pause here. Let your hands, heel of your hands, take the weight, rest heavily on your knees. Taking our time, slowly transitioning as we come up. We've had heart higher than the head for a few breaths now, so we just need to be careful. You might feel a little lightheaded, which can happen when you try to do too much too soon. So let's take it slowly. Let's take a break in between each pose, and I'll give ourselves the opportunity to transition and transform. Bend your knees, and as you inhale, sweep all the way up. You can sweep your arms out to the side or forward and up. See what feels best to you. And release. Coming back to mountain pose. Find your mountain pose. Broad through the collarbones, shoulder blades drawing down the back and in towards the spine. You can feel the belly button embracing just slightly, pulling in towards the spine as well. You find a certain ease here in mountain pose. Just reinforcing the proper alignment of the skeletal structure. Palms turned forward is actually the way our arms are supposed to be. But we spend so much time on our cell phones, keyboards, sitting at desks, that the shoulders round forward. The pectoral muscles shorten. The back muscles broaden. And the hands turn in. So open up, roll open, stand tall, like a mountain. Let's inhale, sweep the arms up. As you exhale, bend your knees, bow forward, fingertips to the mat, step your right foot back. Long step back, long lunge step back, longer than a walking step. Think of it as a leap step. Land on the ball of your right big toe, if you feel steady. If you don't feel steady, if you don't feel like you can bring your hands up onto your left thigh, then bring your right foot in and press your heel down. Bringing yourself up tall. Using your hands on your thigh, pull your shoulders back over top of your hips. Now left knee is soft. Soften the left knee. If you look down at your left foot, you can still see all of your toes. And your left knee is pointing in the same direction as your toes. It's not pointing in, it's not collapsing inward, and it's not breaking outside to the outside left side of your mat. So keep that. Now focus on a focal point ahead of you. That will help steady you and keep your balance. Now, keeping your eye on your drishti, your focal point, keeping shoulders over top of hips, and keeping hips level. Think of pushing into the mat with the ball of the right big toe and lengthening through the back of the right knee. You feel it most in the front of the right hip. And just bring your hands to your hips and use your hands and the weight of your arms to create some heaviness through the hips to really anchor you and steady you. Keep reaching the right heel back to keep the back of the right knee long. And feel the stretch deep into the front of the right hip. Breathe. Once you find your breath, softness will return to the body. Not completely, but instead of holding on, all of a sudden you find your breath and it's like, oh, that feels so much better. Why didn't I breathe before? We'll take one more breath. Keep your eyes on your drishti. Release your hands and sweep up. Breathe in. On the breath out, slowly bringing your hands down to the mat. Fingertips only, just enough to hold you steady. Left foot steps forward. Bend in the knees. Slide your hands up towards the top of your knees. Let's rest your weight on the heel of your hands. Eyes slightly forward. Now check in with your posture. Crown of the head reaching up to the corner. Fronts of the collarbones broad, shoulder blades pulling in towards the spine, sliding down towards the hips. A couple of breaths right here. Taking this little restorative supported chair pose to create a little break between the right side and the left side. A little bit of space. Sometimes you just need a little bit of space. With your next breath out, you're going to slide your hands back down to the mat. Left foot steps back. Long lunge step, leap step to the back of the mat, landing on the ball of your left big toe. Check in here. If you don't feel steady, adjust the placement of your left foot. Connect to the mat. Now use your right thigh to just slowly bring yourself up. Check in. Right knee is pointing in the same direction as your right toes. And you want your right knee just about over top of your right ankle. Find your focal point, your drishti, straight ahead. Hands to your hips. Now, even though you're looking at your drishti, bring your mental focus to the left leg. Reach with the left heel. Lengthen the back of the left knee, keeping the hips square. Feel underneath your hands. If your left hip feels lower than your right hip, adjust. Breathe. Use your hands, the weight of your arms, to bring some weight to the hips and center you. Really exaggerate the feeling of heaviness from the waist down. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Release your hands. As you sweep up, take a breath in. The breath out, focus. Hands coming to the mat. Step your left foot forward. Inhaling, coming halfway up. Exhaling, sliding back down. Bend your knees enough, plant your hands, step back to downward dog. Long arms, broad shoulders, arm bones pushing the shoulders down towards the hips or up towards the hips in this case. Heels reaching. Feeling long through the body, long through the legs. And take one more breath. Lift your heels, bend your knees, walk your feet towards your hands. Inhale, coming halfway up, bending the knees, resting your weight on the heel of your hands, broadening through the collarbones, shoulder blades pulling in, sliding down, soles of the feet strong. A couple of breaths here. Soles of the feet press into the mat. Here we go. Sweep the arms up with the breath in, whichever way you choose. Out and up, forward and up, whatever feels right to you. Release your hands. Bring your hands to your hips. Pause right here. Let your arms feel heavy. Feel the weight of your hands resting on your hip bones. Relax through the shoulders. Getting ready now for another big step back. So bend the knees and really step the right foot as far back as you can. Now pivot, turning on your right toe, planting your right heel. Right toes pointing to the right. Take a look down at your left knee. Left knee's pointing in the same direction as your toes. You can still see your left big toe. Pausing right here. Bring your left hand to your thigh. Right hand's going to sweep up and then lean in. Left hand into your left knee. Reach the right arm up to the corner where the wall meets the ceiling. Press the baby toe side, outer heel of your right foot into the mat and really sense in your body, in your right foot specifically, if your arch is lifting. Keep the arch lifting rather than collapsing into it. Now open through the shoulders. Keep the right shoulder stacked over top of the left shoulder. Now bring the gaze up to the right hand, if you can. Just bring the gaze as high up as you can, even if it's to the ceiling in front of you. And reach the right hand just a little bit more, a little higher. Not over to the left more, but up towards the ceiling more. I want you to feel the stretch as the rib cage pulls away from the right side of the hip, but the left side doesn't collapse. Now, keep your eyes on the ceiling and sweep your right hand to your hip. Turn to look over your right shoulder. So now I'm looking behind me. And come down onto your left elbow. A little bit of a different way to get here. So now we're getting even a longer stretch into the right hip here. Breathe. With your next breath out, I want you to turn to look down towards your left big toe. Your shoulders and rib cage will turn with you. Right hand comes down to the mat, then the left. Pivot onto your right big toe, step forward. Feet hip distance apart, and just take a forward fold here. Relaxing the neck, let your head feel heavy. 3 breaths. Three satisfying, deep, slow breaths. Space to breathe. Now bend your knees. Just lift your eyes, look towards the top edge of your mat. Step your left foot back. Long step back. Pivot onto the ball of your Pivot on the ball of your left big toe, plant your heel. Right toe is pointing forward, left toe is pointing to the left. So coming into this a slightly different way. I want you to swing your left arm towards the top of the mat, kind of grazing the mat, and as you inhale, windmill all the way back, using the momentum of your breath to lift the shoulders over top of the hips. Bring your hands to your hips for now. Look down, check on your alignment. Right knee pointing in the same direction as your right toes. You can still see your right big toe. Here we go. We're going to place right hand on the knee. Left hand's going to sweep up. As you breathe in and as you exhale, lean into the right hand. Really lengthen through the left side this time. Reaching the left hand up to the corner where the wall meets the ceiling. Bring your focus to the baby toe side of your left foot, outer heel, and engage the arch on the left foot rather than falling into it. Feel the lift there. Feel the length on the left side of the body. Getting ready to lengthen just a little bit more, bringing the gaze up, lifting, looking up towards the ceiling, maybe even towards your left hand. And then reaching the left hand higher. Keep the right side long. Feel the long stretch as the left side of the rib cage pulls away from your hip. Now roll back, Stack the left shoulder over top of the right, because as you were reaching with the left hand, you took the opportunity, as humans do, to compensate. Keep the left shoulder stacked over top of the right shoulder, so the collarbones are broad. Now keep the gaze up. Find something to hold your gaze, your drishti. With your breath in, sweep your left hand down to your hip. Now turn to look over your left shoulder. Now looking behind you. And then slowly, with your exhalation, sink your right elbow onto your right knee, deepening the stretch into the left hip here. So we did this gradually, right? We did the first reach and lengthen sitting on the yoga mat at the very beginning. And now we've lengthened even more. We took a middle stage by reaching the hand up. And now here, bending and lengthening through the outer hip a little bit more. Yeah. 2 more breaths to go. Turn your head, bring your eyes to the top edge of your mat. Now bring your left hand down, and then the right. Pivot onto the ball of your left big toe, step your left foot forward. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, bend your knees, bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, lift up all the way. Release the hands, returning to a full mountain pose. Take a breath. Let's inhale, sweep the arms up. And as you exhale, sweep the arms out. Bring your hands back to your hips. Bend your knees. Step your right foot back. A medium step now. Farther than a walking step, but not as far as that lunge step you did earlier. Land on the ball of your right big toe. A little bend in the left knee. If you take a quick look down, you can still see all of your toes on your left foot, and your knee is pointing in the same direction as your toes. Now here we've got shoulders stacked over top of hips. Hips level. Push into the mat with the ball of the right big toe. Lengthen the back of the right leg as much as possible. Really feel the front of the right thigh engage. Now keep that. Keep the right leg active. Shift your shoulders forward now. Feel like you're coming into line with your right heel. So creating a diagonal line from the crown of your head to your right heel. Find something on the floor in front of you to hold your gaze, a drishti. Feel your weight shifting into your left leg. Now come up onto the very tip of your right big toe. Spread your toes on your right foot. Feel the left foot push into the mat. And now lift off completely. Lengthen through the left leg. Float the right foot completely off the mat. Keep your toes turned down towards the floor, keeping the hips level as much as possible. Now, if you feel steady here, you can go ahead and reach the arms. Extend the diagonal line now to your fingertips. Reach your right heel, reach with your fingers. Long line, long arms. Breathe. 3 complete, deep, slow breaths. If you come out of this modified warrior 3 pose, feel free to start again at the next breath. Keep trying. If you need a break, take a break, and then join in at the next breath. 1 more breath. All right, don't collapse completely. Hands to your hips. Keep your eyes on your drishti. Soften the left knee, land on the right big toe, same way you went in. Now lift the shoulders over top of the hips and step forward. Release the hands. Turning the palms forward, collarbones broad, shoulder blades sliding in towards the spine and down towards the hips. Belly button strong, support through the midsection. Feel the energy in the body. Feel the energy and the intensity that took. So let's take 3 breaths right here. Just to take a moment, create some space before continuing with the left side. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Exhale, hands coming down, bringing your hands to your hips. Bend your knees. Step your left foot back. That medium step, halfway between a walking step, but not as far as that long leap lunge step that we did. Right knee is soft. Now press into the ball of the left big toe, really lengthen through the left leg. You can feel it into the hip, you can feel the strength, the front of the left thigh. Keep that. Keep the left leg strong. Toes spread on the left foot. Hips square. Now shift your weight forward. Bring the shoulders forward. Bring your eyes to your drishti on the floor. Make the long line from your left heel to the crown of your head. The diagonal line. From the corner on the floor to the corner in the ceiling. Now come on to the very tip of your left big toe. Feel your weight shifting into your right leg even more. Now keep the hips level, really key here. Spread your toes on your left foot. When you feel ready, push off. Push into the mat with the right foot and the left foot will float. Toes spread on your left foot, toes pointing down towards the mat will help you keep your hips square, and reach with the heel to keep the leg strong, the whole leg strong. Now if you're feeling steady, feeling strong, go ahead with your next breath and extend the arms. Extend the diagonal line. Even reaching beyond your fingertips, beyond your left heel. Long. 3 long, deep, slow yogi breaths. Hands come to the hips first. Soften your right knee, land on the ball of your left big toe. Shift the shoulders back and step forward. Release the hands, returning to mountain pose. Reconnecting to a satisfying breath that just seems so easy now. A little bit of time to recover. A little bit of time to feel. Inhaling, sweeping the arms up. Exhale, bend your knees, bow forward, plant your hands, step back to downward dog. Firm connection, palms of the hands, heels reaching, long body, long legs, long arms. Resting here now for 5 breaths. Rest is a relative term, but this is so much easier than that warrior 3 pose we did a moment ago on the right side and the left side, but not as easy as mountain pose. Find your breath wherever you can.
even during times of intensity, the breath can be your refuge. Merely taking the time to breathe in itself creates space and calm. Two more breaths to go. Lift your heels, bring your knees all the way down to the mat. And take a child's pose. Whatever version of child's pose feels right to you here. Go ahead and modify in whatever way you need to. Widening the knees, placing a blanket or a block under your forehead, using your hands if you need to. You might not even commit to a single version of child's pose during these 5 breaths. At the end of your 3rd breath, you may adjust and change more, and that's okay too. Coming into a full child's pose with your arms, hands beside your ankles can really help release tension through the shoulders and the neck. Make sure you've got support under your forehead, either a block, a blanket, or the mat. Can't be your hands this time because your hands are down beside your ankles. But maybe you stay where you are. Do what's right for you. Do what feels right for you. We'll take one more breath. And slowly press up.
Swing your legs round to the top of the mat. Lie back. Bring your knees in towards you. Bringing your knees wide here, as wide as your armpits. You want to kind of feel like your rib cage to the inside of your thighs. Now spread your toes on both feet and adjust your grip to behind your thighs and just lift your feet so the soles of your feet look like they're standing on the floor. Keep your toes spread wide, getting ready here for a happy baby pose. Now bring your elbows to the insides of your knees and your hands reach up. Reach for your ankles if that's what you can hold on to. You can take your peace fingers, your index finger and your middle finger, and hook your big toes. That gives you a little more room as well. Or you can reach for the outside edges of your feet. Take a breath. And as you exhale, think of pulling your shoulders down into the mat and bringing your legs, your feet, your ankles, whatever it is you're holding on to, bring that with you. And just sink in. Now, rather than actively pulling with your hands or your fingers, that's not what you're doing. You're pulling the shoulder blades down into the mat and using the weight of the arms and the action of the shoulders to maximize the range of motion in the hips. Take 3 long, delicious breaths here and just sink into your back. Feel the weight of your legs. Feel the weight at the back of your head, your shoulders, your hips. The full connection of the full rectangular space on your back supported by the floor. There's a reason this is called happy baby. There's a reason why babies are happy in this position, holding onto their toes.
holding on to your happy baby pose, just gently give yourself a little bit of a rock from side to side. Just a very gentle rock from side to side. And release your hands, your feet, and bring your feet back to the mat. Walk your feet as wide as the mat. Right foot to the right edge, left foot to the left edge. Bring your arms out to the sides in line with your shoulders. Tucking your shoulder blades underneath you so you're resting on the back of your hands. Take a breath. And as you exhale, spread your toes. Roll onto the outside edge of your right foot, inside edge of your left foot as your knees fall to the right. And just let your left leg just kind of float 6 inches or so above the mat and sink into your right hip and the outer right thigh. Just feel that long stretch once again on the left side. And turn your head to look to the left. So your head is going in the opposite direction from your legs. Press into the mat with your feet. Bring your legs to center and head to center. Take a breath just right here. Just breathe. Spread your toes once again. Really engage through the ankles. Keep the ankles safe by spreading the toes. With your breath out, roll onto the outside edge of your left foot, inside edge of your right foot as your knees go to the left this time. Right knee just floating 6 inches or so above the mat. You can feel the long stretch on the right side. Sink into your left hip rather than bracing against the floor. And then gently roll your head to the right. Head going in the opposite direction from your knees. Bring your breath deep into the belly. Make it as deep as you can and as deliberate as you can. Press into the floor with the edges of your feet, bringing your legs back to center and your head to center. Walk your feet in. Cross your right ankle to your left knee. And just use your ankle on your knee as a leverage spot to push your right knee away from you. Now right hand on your thigh, give it another little push. Now keep the left hip heavy. So if you're pushing into your right hip and you feel your left hip pulling towards your rib cage, pulling towards your shoulder, you're kind of cheating a little bit. Try to keep the hips level. So you're working into the hip, not the rotation through the vertebrae in the lower back. Notice where your body feels the intensity the most. Rest your focus with that part of your body and breathe. Using your breath to create space in your body. Not just space in the sense of time. And then release. Now crossing the left ankle to the right knee. Spread your toes on your left foot to keep your ankle strong. Use the ankle as the leverage spot to push your left knee away from you. Left hand onto your left thigh and give it an extra little push. But be careful with the right hip, right? If you're pushing your left hip away and the right hip gets a little closer towards your rib cage, level out the hips. It changes everything.
bring your attention to the spot in your body where you feel the stretch the most, and breathe. And release. Bring your knees in towards your chest. And just do that wonderful little rock from side to side. Doing some circles with your knees if it feels like that's what you want to do today. Getting ready now for final relaxation, our favorite part. Releasing your legs one at a time. Stretching out long. Oh, seems I'm off the mat, but that's okay. I don't care. Make whatever adjustments you need to so you're comfortable for your next few breaths. Take a couple of breaths here and deliberately dedicate your exhalation to sinking into the floor and just relaxing and feeling comfortable. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. If you don't want to close your eyes, just let your vision go out of focus so you feel like you're floating. And just like at the beginning of practice where we took a moment to sit and breathe, to create space between the outside world and your yoga, physical yoga practice, here we are at the end of the yoga practice, creating a little bit of space, a little bit of time to take it all in before moving forward with the next event. A few breaths to reflect, to breathe. A few breaths to put a period at the end of it. Whatever event it happens to be. To take it in, to reflect, as I mentioned. Some space for closure. To come to terms with what's happened. I invite you to stay here in final relaxation for as long as you choose. Be with your breath, be in the moment. Linger is such a good word. It's such a good description of this moment. When you feel ready to rise up, start with little movements in the fingers and toes. Movement in the hands and feet. Arms and legs. Move in whatever way feels natural in your body as a way to bringing yourself back. You can have a stretch. You can roll your head from side to side. Whatever feels good to you. Gently rolling onto your right side. setting your own pace for coming back, for leaving the yoga practice behind and resting on the precipice of the next thing to begin. Sitting tall, hands together at the heart, eyes softly closed or gazing downward. Take a moment to be grateful. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be loved. May all beings be at peace. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.